designer. So, Michael, I would really love you to take the stage. If you have if you have slides to share, you can begin sharing your slides. Do you have slides to share, Michael?
Yes, I do.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen now. Good evening, everybody. Desmond has introduced me, but I'll introduce myself again with my slide.
Okay.
So I hope you all had a very good day. I know you can just drop that in the comment section. I always like asking people how their day went. Because I always feel like Nigeria is hard, so you have to care about other people. All right, so can you guys see my screen? Shuffle between here. Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
great.
I can see your
Awesome.
screen.
Okay, just wanted to confirm that. Okay, I'll get into it. I don't have so much time. My name is Micheal Shumaker. It's my real name. I'm a digital product designer. I'm also an accessibility advocate, reason being that I'm dyslexic. And so it puts me in a position to think about how other people who have their own form of disability use digital products. And I'm also a design system practitioner. And I will be speaking to you about the skills that you need to become a product designer or UI UX designer, and just from the angle of someone who is, just getting into tech or about to get into tech. So before that, a little bit about myself. So, and my journey. So I think this was 2013 or 2012. I can't remember exactly. So I dropped out of uni at 300 level. I'm not advising anybody to go and do or drop out. If you're in uni, it's fine. Finish it. And from there, I transitioned into being a fashion designer. That didn't work. So I moved into being an illustrator, and then I continued illustrating. That's why, speaking. So I transitioned from that into being creative director for major brands, and then I took the part of, a startup founder, did two startups. That didn't still work out. So it was during my journey as a startup founder that I discovered product design, and that's what I'm currently doing, and we've been doing that 3 years strong, which is good. So who exactly is a product designer? Who is a product designer? Uh, I really like to get engagements if that's possible. I don't know. Anybody? Who's a product designer? What do you think a product designer is? Or a digital product designer? That's like the better term for it. Anybody? Nobody? Okay. So a product designer is someone who creates products to solve problems of their user, and finding a way to balance that out between the customer needs and the business objective. Now, just for, maybe in future or sometimes someone asks you, there is a clear distinction between who a product designer is and who a UI UX designer is. And the distinction there is that the product designer sorts to balances out, customer needs with the business objective, while a UI UX designer focuses on those things based on the user. Yeah, they look at everything from. Hold on, let me get the door. Right. Okay, back. So that is who a product designer is, and how do you become one? What are the skills that you need to be a product designer to get into this particular field in tech? And it always boils down to two things. And I'm a really passionate person about fundamentals. And the reason why I'm passionate about this is I think like in retrospect, the reason why I probably wasn't a very successful illustrator until like later in my career as an illustrator because I just jumped into making very pretty things and I didn't understand the fundamentals. And by the time I started relearning those fundamentals, I was already too far into the game, and at some point I was feeling like a fraud. I was making things knowing that I wasn't really following basic. So I went back and I learned that. So it's the same thing. So when I started product design, I took the right approach. I went through fundamentals. And so it's the same thing I'm still going to talk about. So I'm going to emphasize a lot on, doing this fundamentals, going back to the basics, because that will set you up on a really good path. It's like when you're building a house, the foundation of the house really, really matters. If you just go in and, create the structure and without paying attention to the fundamentals, the house will be beautiful, but when things happen, maybe natural disaster or by its own self, the consequence of doing that, the whole house will come crumbling down. So it's the same principle here. So we're focusing on two things, hard skills and soft skills. Things that, can be learned and things that you have to maybe teach yourself or, I don't know, pick things as they go. Things that, you really, really need to be able to get into tech or grow in this field of tech. So hard skills are, again, design fundamentals. That is like the most basic thing that you need to really understand. Because in the end, you still have to do the UI, except maybe you probably get an abroad job or you travel out and then you can decide to specify on what you want to do. But starting out, you're really going to be a generalist. You're going to, and it's even good to be a generalist starting out because you want to explore. You want to know where your strengths are. You want to know where your weaknesses are. So starting out at design fundamental is a really good place. And then the next would be UX, that's user experience fundamentals. You have to get those really, really strong before you move on to UI fundamentals. So the thing with the difference between like UI fundamentals and design fundamentals is that design fundamentals is pretty much on a grander scheme of things. It encompasses everything, design related. But you see, UI fundamental is specific to digital products. It's not the same thing. The way you approach designing a flyer or a logo is not the same way you approach, UI fundamentals. The way you use typography, the way you use colors, it's much, much different from how you do with a flyer, a logo, or even a car, if that's something you want to do. So it's also good to learn, UI, going to the tools. Now, the process to this is not, it's not, and the way I mentor people is that you have to, please let me know if you cannot hear me because I can't even see anything. So just let me know if you can hear me.
We can hear you fine.
Yeah, so, oh, awesome, thank you. So the tools are,
Sorry,
for me,
from my end, your screen is dim. Maybe if you can make it a bit bolder so that you can see it clearly. Thank you.
oh, that is the highest I can make it because my
Okay,
screen is
okay,
not 1080p.
okay. We'll manage.
It's yeah, yeah, that's the highest I can make it.
Yeah,
Okay,
better.
this is better.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Sorry. Continue. So The tools are really, I see people like, struggle a lot with like, oh, I want to learn this, I want to learn this. Yes, it's good to learn that, but, do the design fundamental, do the UX fundamental, do the UI fundamental before you start, rushing into perfecting one tool. And hard skill, hustle. We'll talk about hustle for later on. So the soft skill to get into things that you really need to hone on in order for you to start the career, grow in it. Communication is very important. Attention to detail. I cannot emphasize that enough. The way you think about problems and the way you solve those problems. When I started out, a friend of mine told me, she said, Michael, you have to be a product designer in everything you do. You have to see everything as a product. You have to, and it really helps. So maybe it will help you guys. So time management is key. You have to constantly be open-minded, always. Curiosity should lead you everywhere, and patience and consistency. So I'll explain this thing. So what are the design fundamentals that you need to emphasize on, you need to go out and really learn? So I'm sure you've read them and call them out again. Typography, there's layout, there's contrast, there's hierarchy, and there's white space. There's more of this that you sort of need to learn, but I'm pointing this out because I'm coming from a product design angle, right? And the first thing, the very first thing, and the reason why to me it's super important is typography. Pretty much 80, you might not realize that, but 80% of everything that you do as a product designer revolves around typography. And that's the reason why, there's this new rise of content
This one.
writers, which we also,
Cyber.
which,
Sorry about that. You can unmute yourself, Michael. Sorry.
yeah, so it's typography. 80%, close to 90% of all you're dealing with is typography. So it's, when I say like study typography, I'm not saying like breeze over it. I'm saying take a month, take as long as you need to really understand typography, understand what line height is, understand how line height has evolved from, when it was still being used at the printers to what it is, what it looks like now, and how it's related to how Figma has designed it. I'm saying like really go into the details, understand what makes a typeface fun and what makes it too serious, understand the tiny details. Typography and the people who create it to me, have like a very special set of skills. Like the personality of a typeface is in its details, and you have to go in to those details and, understand really what you want. When you have that, you'll be surprised the amount of confidence that you'd actually have when you design a layout, because you know what is readable and what is not readable. You know that, if if I use this on mobile, if I use a particular type size on mobile, I cannot use the same type size probably on the web. And it happens a lot. So I had a challenge some months back when I was working on a project. And so I was using one of my favorite typefaces, G2 Ocean Pro, for that project. And what I realized was that although the aesthetic of the typeface was in line with the project, what happened was I couldn't push the type size to like a very big size, because at a particular pixel, it was too big and a title would stand out too much. Now, if I didn't understand how people read typeface, how people, would feel about typefaces, I would have used the wrong sizes, and when it came out in code, it would have looked absolutely horrible. It would have just been too much, right? So it's always good that you learn typography first before you move on to other things. So layout, I'm not going to spend so much time on the other one. So layout is pretty much how you lay things on your interface, which is where things like grid help you, and using all sorts of grid system, and then you also learn to break those grids. You cannot, and in breaking those grids, right, you create interfaces that are interesting. I'm not going to say unique, but I'm going to say very interesting, because that's what you want. You want it to, be of interest to somebody. You create patterns with very simple, minute details, right, with layout. So you need to be able to understand what makes a layout tick, and which places can I use XYZ layout. You cannot take Instagram style layout and say you want to design a bank app. It's just going to create confusion, right? It works in some certain use cases, but in other use cases it might not work. But you need to understand what I post near voices. Okay, you need to understand the basics of that. So contrast is pretty much light and dark, or what can I see first, or what can I see second, or what can I, it's almost like hierarchy, right? Because when you're doing hierarchy, you're thinking of what I see first, what I see second. In that way, you create contrast. You can create contrast using color. You can create contrast using size. You can create contrast using a lot of things. And in contrast, to me, you find colors. So you begin to, think about how colors work, how they, what kind of color do I need to differentiate my body type. That is, maybe a text that is plenty, and a short text that, starts the page. So you do those two things with color, creating contrast at the same time, creating hierarchy, because when you put something that is big and bold and has a very bright color, for example, this slide, right? When you get into this page, the first thing that you're going to see is the design fundamentals, which is what I want you to see as, one design fundamentals page. This is telling you where you are. And then the other things are the content of design fundamentals. So it's big, and I want it there. I want you to constantly see that. That is the reason why I made that choice, right? So this page on its own is already telling you three things: contrast, color, hierarchy. Now, white space is usually not the same thing as negative space. And if you dig deeper, you can understand it. So white space is how much breathing room can you have on an interface, or how much breathing room can you use, right? That's why you probably, you look at some apps, or you maybe use a website, and everything just seems easy, and there's no too many things going on around. So that's something that you should focus on achieving, right? And it's something that you can learn. So, and the reason why I say that is when you start out going into like tools, you're going to try to fit everything into one screen, but you always have to think about it like, I need to let this breathe. An interface or a product is a living, breathing thing. It has its own life cycle. It has a time when it starts, or it's concepted, and it has a time where it dies. The only difference is that it will die so many times and come back so many times. So it's pretty much immortal, depending on how it's run, right? So those are the design fundamentals that you need to look at. So UX fundamentals, you have to understand user experience. You have to understand how people behave. And there's this very popular saying that we say in UX, that what your user says is not the same thing as what your user does. So you have to sort of find a balance, and you can only understand that when you go. I'm not saying go all out and be this creepy person who is trying to understand how the person's brain functions. No, that's not it. What I'm saying is understand the most important things about human behavior and how that relates to digital product, because that's where your main focus is. Research. You have to research like everything. If someone says, for example, the guys will relate that, Liverpool beats Man U 5-0 today. Don't just believe that Liverpool did that. Like, go out there and do some research. And because in doing that research, you're going to find something that leads you to another thing that leads you to another thing that leads you to somewhere that you never imagined that it will take you to. So UX psychology. Now there is the human behavior, and it's kind of related, but this is more user experience centered in the sense that the things like Fitz's law, the things like Jacob's law, the things like Gestalt theory, all of those things would help you not just as a UX person, but also it affects how you approach the UI part, which is the user interface, the part that people are going to use. Strategy. This is something that a lot of people don't pay attention to when they start their career. Your job, yes, is to sort of create user interface, but what is the strategy? How do you go about creating these things? How do you go about making the right choices? How do you go about, delivering things that make sense, that hit the goals, that hit those KPIs, that, not just whoever it is that you're working for will be happy. What is the process to making sure that that particular project is, organized, it makes sense at the end of the day, and, everybody's happy. So you have to learn how to be strategic about things, how to be strategic about your approach to work. Then wireframing. Now, wireframing, when you're learning, a lot of times, they emphasize it and that it's good. But you also have to understand the fundamentals of it. Why is it important? When do you need to use it? How do you use those things? So these are the sort of things that you need to learn. So then you move on into UI. So you have to understand UI, because at the end of the day, even with like great UX, if the UI itself is not good enough, you pretty much have like wasted 50% or like maybe 60-40% of the potential of what that product could be. And people always say, like clients that I work with, and like, oh, let's just do something, let's hurry. I'm like, no, you cannot compare the interfaces that happened 2 years ago to the interfaces that are happening now. And I get that you're in a hurry to rush things and, put things out there. But the users today know what a good UI feels like. They use apps that people have spent millions and lots of research. So you just can't, because you think that you're short on cash or you want to already push out things, throw rubbish at them. It won't fly. The product would suck and nobody would use it. So you have to really understand what good UI is. And I'm not saying go to Dribble or go to one of those places to look at UI and that's it. No, saying let's take an app, download an app and dissect the app. Understand like why that app that you use so much feels so good. What are they doing right that's making it how the notification comes up? They're like really tiny details. So you have to really, it has to be like a daily thing. It's something that has to be part of you. You're not just using things, right? So in order for that to also help you, this is something that people don't even pay attention to, which is learning the design systems of the two most used operating systems in the world. On a mobile phone, you're stuck with two options, aside from Huawei and their, I think it's One UI or something like that. I think so. So, but the major ones you're going to be mostly designing for are iOS and the Google Material Design System. Now, this should be your Bible. They should guide you. Like you should read that. they're usually very large. So don't read it the same way you read your Bible if you're a Christian, or your Quran if you are Muslim, or if you're something else. How much you read it like that. Let it be sacred to you, because these things are guidelines. So Apple and Google have sat down with their teams and they've said, look, if you want to design anything for iOS, these are the things that you need to do. These are the things that you need to keep up with, right? They've given you very detailed guidelines. They've told you there are 3 kinds of models for iOS that you can use. Just 3 kinds. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. These are the kind of models that you can use, and this is how they should behave. This is where you should put the instruction. This is where you should put the buttons. They're not limiting your creativity as a designer or as an individual. That's not what you're doing. And you find it out later on that the best designers are usually the designers that work within a constraint, that work within a box. You know why? Because they have a very sneaky way of finding maybe the loopholes or creating little holes out of those boxes. And that's where they shine, because they also work within the system. At the same time, they can break those systems. So these should be your Bible. They should guide you every time. Go out there, read them. And I think a guy did like a very comprehensive version of the iOS. I can't remember his name, but I have it bookmarked and I always go back to it. So if there's a new update, maybe the way, let's say the way with iOS 15, they might change certain things. That's where you get those information from, right? You go there, you look at them, you study them, and you make your adjustments accordingly. So you're always on top of things. So those should be your Bible. So now everything you've learned from, your design fundamentals, spacing, contrast, hierarchy, all of that, you're going to take all of those things and then you're going to apply them based on your understanding of the UI part of product design. You're going to take those things and you're going to apply them. This is where you get really, really creative with things, right? So it's very important that those design fundamentals, that you learn them to the best of your abilities, like you really, really learn them, because they will become useful. And in my own career, I've experienced that, as I said earlier, I started from the foundation and I got that. And every time I'm thrown into a new challenge, I always come out successfully, because it's not rocket science. It's things that, you pick up here and there and you've learned, you've taken your time to really learn it, and it has become a part of you. And when it's time to execute, you find that even the most difficult problem is solved with ease. So your tools. Now, you have like lots of tools in the market, and there's 3 most popular ones: Figma, Adobe XD, InVision Studio, the Sketch. There's so many. There's so many out there. And I was saying earlier about, not getting into a hurry to sort of learn everything that there is to it. Like I have a mentee that just started product design, and we had a conversation yesterday in one of our meetups that we do every week, and she's like, oh, she wants to learn auto layout and variant, and I'm like, why are you in such a hurry to learn all of these things? The truth is, yes, they are the boss things, and yes, they are the things that you need to learn. But what's the point of learning them if they cannot make your work faster or better or easier? The reason why Figma or Adobe XD has put in these features is because they are targeting a certain kind of users, a user who knows what they're doing, and they're trying to make their workflow really, really efficient and super fast. So the way I would use auto layout is not the same way someone who is just starting is going to use auto layout. To me, auto layout is like like I can't imagine myself not working without Ophelia because I know it makes me 100 times faster than when I'm not working with it, right? But then you have, and that's because I understand how it works, I know how it works, and I know what I'm trying to achieve at that particular point. So I work with it effortlessly. I'm someone who is just starting. Which she said, I'm struggling with Ophelia. I'm like, you will struggle with it because you don't even understand how it works. You don't understand why it was even created in the first place, right? So don't, at this early stage, don't focus too much on, trying to be like the master of that tool. You learn when you need something, when you need to make your work faster because you already understand those fundamentals. Now you want to see how you can arrange three things because you won't know what you want, basically. You really know what you want. But also explore other options, right? Don't just say because everybody's going into Figma, right? You're just going to stick to Figma at this early stage. You might still come back to Figma, but explore what Adobe XD feels like because there's some companies that might not employ you just because you use Figma alone. And they have, imagine a company who has built their entire 10 years on Adobe XD. And then all of a sudden, because Figma is very popular, then they now tell you, then you now want them to shift 10 years of work into Figma. That most companies don't want to do that, and I know for a fact I've seen companies who stick to who even stick to InVision Studio. They might make that transition, but what is going to happen is if you don't have any skill in that particular software, you're probably going to not get that job, right? Because they want someone who can work within their ecosystem. Explore other options. So explore After Effects, explore Photoshop, explore Cinema 4D, explore Blender. You might not be like the best at those things, but you know how they work. You know how they feel. Like there's some things that you want to probably do for example, you might bring in an illustration and you want to, like maybe an SVG illustration, and you want to maybe do something where you want to manipulate it. And Figma might not give you that ease that you need. If you don't have any Illustrator skill, you're going to struggle in that thing. So, but if you do, even if it's like really little, I know how many times it has saved me where I want to change some very specific things and Figma cannot really give me that. I'll move it to um, Illustrator or I'll move it to Photoshop and I'll make it work, right? It has saved me a lot, and even saving files. Sometimes you might download the file that is not compatible with Figma and you have to go and change the file format. Those tools, exploring those other tools help you. There's tools like Whimsical that I use for wireframing. There's Mirror. There's so many tools that you can use to do specific things. There's what is it, Wireflow, for like different things. You don't always have to sort of constrain yourself to one tool. And as you grow, you would find what works best for you, and you be a master of that. But for now, keep your options open. So hustle. Now you have to, to even like starting out, the network is really, really important. You want to surround yourself with people who are not just starting out, also but people who are established there. I'm not saying go and meet every person and say, please be my mentor. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, have conversations with these people. I have a mentor and he is the design director for New. It's also another design tool. And so it just is the design director there. How did I meet him? I simply I DM'd the vice president for VMware on Twitter. This is someone that on a normal day I would never have access to him. And to my surprise, he answered me. And I asked him some certain questions and we had a very lengthy conversation about product and about design, and he explained certain things that I struggled with at the time to me. And then I asked him, look, you're the vice president of VMware. It's a big company. You're never going to have the time to mentor me or to do anything like that. So do you have anybody who might be interested, even with their busy schedule, to sort of mentor me? And that led to one thing, and then this other guy became my mentor. So he pretty much just gives me career advice. He would tell me, oh, Michael, I like where you're going in your career, but maybe you need to slow down a little bit, learn this thing. So that's the kind of mentor. So your mentor shouldn't always be like, UI, UX, the other things that your mentor can do for you, right? So you have to learn to sort of build a network, not just comprising of, even other people. There was a time in my career where I decided to make friends with web developers. And what happened was that all the jobs I was getting at that point was coming from these guys because we were friends. If they had a gig and they needed a UI designer, we're close. They would, oh, Michael Alpha, I have a gig. And that was it. That was how I was surviving at the time, It still even happens till today. Till today, it happens. Most of these guys buzz me up. So you have to really, really build your network. Be nice to people. Have genuine conversations with people, right? Don't just attach yourself to people because you have to network. No, you have to build really good relationships with these people because 10 years, 8 years, 20 years from now, these are still the same people that you would work with. You would have a working or personal relationship with. So do that. Build your portfolio. Your portfolio is super, super important. It is It's the same thing that someone told me years ago, and I'm still going to tell you now. The portfolio is an extension of yourself. It is a reflection of who you really are as a person. Yes, there are ways that, you write your case studies. There are ways that, you would lay things out. But it's the first time anybody is meeting you. What kind of impressions do you want to leave on that portfolio? And I had some guy, I can't remember his name, I think it's Tana, tell me when he looked at my Behance portfolio at the time and he was like, Michael, this is the reason why you're not getting a job. I mean, you're good, but you're not getting a job because you're using Behance. And I asked him why, and he said, because your portfolio is not telling people who you really are. For example, you're dyslexic. That's a very good thing. You're very passionate about accessibility. That is also a good thing. But on Behance, everybody has like the same template. Everybody has the same personality. So when you go to Behance, you know what to expect. But when you have a personal portfolio, nobody knows what to expect. You have the opportunity to really sell yourself, right? You have the opportunity to hook somebody up. And if you can't do that, if you can't, maybe get a web developer friend, which is why it's good to have a web developer friend, because my portfolio was built for free by my web developer friend. He just saw it and like, oh, this is nice. Let me try my hands on it. And that was it. That's how I got my portfolio. I didn't pay shishi, right? So then you can use Notion. Notion does it. Like I've seen people like, I think it's Lulu Ine. She has just done really very well with Notion, and she has like a beautiful portfolio with Notion, and it's free. So explore. Don't restrict yourself to the hands. People like Dribble, right? People like Dribble, and I still use send out Dribble to people alongside my portfolio. So if I'm sending out a portfolio to a company, I will send them my personal portfolio. But if I'm sending out to someone who I know has no idea about design and he just wants to see like screens and beautiful screens, I will definitely send you my Dribble. Make sure you have like you aspire to build a very good portfolio as soon as you can, and it's a living, breathing thing. So it's always going to change. It's always going to evolve. So build your first one, have something to show to sort of document your progress and also for yourself so that you can know how much you progress. So take courses, take free courses, take paid courses, take a lot of YouTube courses. I mean, there are resources everywhere. So take advantage of those things. If you cannot afford to pay, ask your friends. Your friends have the ones they downloaded. They will give you. And when you can afford to pay, by all means necessary, please pay. I paid for really expensive courses, and I'm going to pay for really expensive courses. And I can honestly tell you there's a clear difference. But at the beginning stage, please take courses really seriously. People have put in so much information in those courses that you don't really need somebody to be holding your hand, right? But holding your hand is actually really good too. So, but wherever you can take those courses, and if you have places where people hold your hand, also take advantage of that. So, communication, I'm going to rush through this. I spent too much time talking about those other skills. So, communication, a lot of your job that you do is going to revolve around communicating with people, communicating with developers, communicating with stakeholders. You have to learn to, express yourself. And one of the ways that helps you, especially in design, is the UX part, because everything revolves around there. It's very easy to sort of defend your decisions and all the choices you make confidently if you follow those fundamentals. So communication is very important. Attention to detail oh my God, I can't even emphasize that. This is what separates good from great. The super attention to detail. Sometimes math can't even solve that problem for you. You have to go in and use your eyes and look at it from one angle, tip your screen, take a walk, come back to it, just so that everything is spot on. Problem solving. This is something that you have to do consciously. You have to approach everything from the moment you decide to be a product designer from a problem solving angle. You have to ask yourself the whys, the whats, the when, the how, but those things you have to always ask yourself those questions and approach everything from that place, right? Time management is super important. When you're starting out, you probably start out, either with a company, and now that there's remotes, it's very easy to lose track of time. So you have to learn to sort of manage your time. For me, the way I manage my time is I give myself 3 tasks or 5 tasks that I need to accomplish every day. And that's it. If I accomplish those tasks by 12 o'clock, I know that I have the rest of the day to take care of myself. If I do it, complete it by 5 o'clock, which I know when I'm working, I never go past 5, right? So those things, because you need to have time for your mind has to be in check. You have to have time for family. You have to have time for friends. It's not even like an option. Don't work and kill yourself. You just have one life. I was a startup founder for about 3 to 6 years, and I spent most of my time building my company. Then I ended up failing. I realized, man, you just have to find a way to balance these things out. Have time for your girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife, whatever it is. Have time for those people close to you. Have time for work at the same time. All right. So you have to be very open-minded. You have to just be so open-minded about everything, because in products, sometimes they're right answers, sometimes they're wrong answers, sometimes they're answers in between, right? Being open-minded would keep you curious, would keep you, oh, what if this could get here? How about if this, how do you think we should approach this? Because, and a lot of times you're going to run into criticism, right? And people are going to criticize your work. If it's not some random dude on Twitter, it's going to be the person who pays you a lot of money to do the job, and it's going to ask you so many questions, and it's going to say, I don't like this. It's not for you to get upset and, like, I spent 50 hours on this. Yes, we know you spent 50 hours on it, but be open-minded. Hear the person out. See if you can compromise some places. If you can't, communicate that as effectively as you can, right? So you have to be open-minded in so many things. You have to be open-minded in trying tools. You have to be open-minded in making new friends. You have to be open-minded in exploring new colors. You have to be open-minded in trying out buying a device just because, you're curious about it, right? So patience and consistency. Starting out is really, really tough. And
Michael,
from experience, yeah?
I think we have exceeded the limit of the time. So I would suggest
How
that
long do I have?
you you have exceeded the time. You don't have any additional time.
Eh.
Yes, unfortunately. So
All right.
let's just use the remaining 4 minutes to get some questions so that we have the next speaker, because the next speaker
Yes,
is already
please.
waiting.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
All right. It's fine. It's fine. No problem. I think I enjoyed this more than I actually thought I would. So, questions for me, and I would quickly answer. Are we doing them in the comment section, or am I hearing them?
So we'll be getting the questions in the comment section. If you have any questions, please do well to drop it within the next 3 minutes in the comment section. I think we have one question that was
Okay.
dropped before.
Yes. So mean does this mean you would have to link two different projects on different apps together? I don't understand that question. The question above was about tools. I don't really understand what that question means. So does this mean you have to link two different projects on different apps together? Oh, when I mention things like I do wireframes on one other software and another one. So linking, I don't know, most softwares don't allow you to sort of link, but you could export in a particular file format that the other one can read and then go back and forth. So with pictures, you probably be doing PNG and SVGs, and with maybe videos, you have to use a plugin. Figma has a plugin that plugs into After Effects. So when you save in that format and then take into After Effects, and you can easily bring that back, right? Because at the end of the day, if it's After Effects, you're going to have that in MP4. So yes, that's what it means. That's it. So any other questions? And setting taxes, so which short complete time now can product designer be done? Oh yes, product design can be done as a side hustle actually. Yes, I advise some of my friends, take it as a side hustle, but if you love products, you would get hooked and it will no longer become a side hustle because I mean if you have somebody paying you $4,000 for a job, I don't know. I don't know what other side hustle you are looking for at $4,000 for a gig. All right, so yes, you can definitely take it as a side view. Talk about them and say, yes, there are plugins also. All right, so I think my time is really, really up.
Yeah,
And if you have, can I can I share my Twitter? So in case anybody has any other question, you can always, this is my Twitter down here.
oh,
And thank you so much for your time.
thank you very much, Michael. I really appreciate. So
Yeah.
if you have any questions, you could send it to our WhatsApp group and we'll forward it directly to Michael. If you also need his Twitter handle, we'll
That also works.
also forward it directly to you on WhatsApp. So thank you very much, Michael. And let me quickly share my
Thank
screen
you. Thank you.
and
All right.
introduce the next speaker. Okay, can you guys see my screen? Can you all see my screen? Can you see my screen? Can you hear me and see my screen? I just need a mic check, quick mic check.
Yeah,
Yes.
yes, I can hear you.
Okay, fantastic. So our next speaker is someone who is an experienced product designer. So she's an advocate focused on delivering strategic and meaningful user experiences. And she loves making stuff. She loves solving problems. She loves shipping products very fast. And her goal is to impact billions of lives with the products that she ships out. She's a product designer at iCube Labs, and her name is Alison Eyo. And Alison is going to talk to us about how we can get remote jobs as a designer. So, Alison, the stage is yours. I'm sorry for the delay, but the stage is yours now, and you can begin to talk to us. Do you have slides that you would like to share, or you want to talk directly?
Uh, Hi, Desmond. Thank you very much for having me. My name is Alison Eyo,
Eh,
by the way.
Okay, sorry
And
about
yes,
that.
I do have slides that I'll be sharing.
Okay, okay. So I'll stop sharing. You can share your slides now.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. Can you all hear me?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Alison Eyo. I'm a product designer. I'm a product designer for IQ Labs. And today we'll be talking about getting remote jobs as a UX designer. So it's going to be really fast. I feel like you've been here for a while, so I'll just go straight to the point. I will be talking about the um, design remote job market real quickly. So as user experience designers, our job is to like bridge the gap between businesses and the users. We're like acting as a key point of contact for stakeholders, developers, and the users, the customers alike. So in recent times, like from the pandemic up until date, the remote job market has been growing, and the design space is not an exception. So we'll be talking about basically everything you need to know about designing remotely. In recent times, many businesses have gotten um, I've seen the need of working remotely. However, the long-term impact of remote work is like companies are now hiring remote workforce, and studies show that in 2028, 73% of all teams will have remote workers. So many people are like seeing the benefits of getting a career remotely because it lets you have time for your family. You don't have to spend so much on transportation and expenses you would have to pay for, make in the office and stuff like that. So there are many like UX remote vacancies out there. There are like a whole lot of them, and the remote market will continue to grow. So the first thing we'll be talking about when it comes to getting a job as a remote designer is that you need to understand user experience design tools and processes. Please, if you do have any questions as I move along, leave them in the comment section. I think we'll take it from there. So the first thing you need to know is first thing you need to do is to think about how you adapt your design practice to the remote environment. This this is actually in relation to those designers that have been working on site or new designers that want to start their career with remote work. So there are like many UX design tools, but can you adapt your design process for remote work? For example, how will you conduct your user research, usability testing? How will you ensure that you have open communication with stakeholders if you're not going to meet them face to face? You need to familiarize yourself with tools that will make remote work possible, like your Zoom for meetings, your Slack for team collaboration, Hotjar for user research, Maze for user research, Crazy Egg for user testing, and I can drop a link to like a guide that will show you like the best user experience research tools that are there. So when you're looking for a remote position, you need to show that you have thought about what it means to work remote on a day-to-day basis. Hello? Okay. You need to show that you have thought about the processes that are involved in working remotely on a day-to-day basis, and that you have considered how you're able to overcome the challenges that are associated with remote work. So you just need to be familiar with the remote tool. That's like a very good place to start because people that are hiring want to be sure that you are capable of working remotely and that you're not going to run their business down. The second thing is building your portfolio. You can't really overemphasize this because it's not enough to just say you're a designer when you're applying for your designers, but you need to be able to prove, you need to show your work. You need to do more of showing and less of telling. So you need to like come up with a prepared professional portfolio and showcase your skills in action. Now there are many like You can decide to have your own personal website, or you could make use of the portfolio sites we have available. We have Behance, we have Dribble, we have Tabuleo, we have, there are many other ones. And your portfolio is like your landing page. So when you go to a landing page of a brand, you expect to see what the brand is about and how the brand can help you. That's basically what your portfolio is supposed to be. It's the first thing they come in contact with before they meet you. So it's supposed to, like, everything it is you have to say or you have to show, it has to be organized in that portfolio. It's not just you need your resume, yes, but then your portfolio is like showing your work as a designer. You need to have all your interfaces, every case studies, every of your processes that it is that you do has to be shown in an organized manner. In fact, organized on your portfolio. In fact, it's like so important that your portfolio is the bridge, is like the difference between a rejection mail and an interview. That's why it's really important to get that right. Yeah, I think that's all for the portfolio. The next thing we need to talk about is smart networking. Now, if you're like me and you're very reserved, this might not be like good news to you, but it's very important that your name and like people affiliate your name with what you do on social media. So let it be that when somebody mentions Alison, all they think is, oh, she's a designer. When somebody mentions what's this guy's name? Musky, you know where Musky is a designer. That's how you're supposed to like appear, show your presence on social media. Basically, there are many popular names in Nigeria that you mention, and you know what this person does because they have been able to affiliate their personal brands, their personal names with what they do. Yeah, so that's it. And then social media is very tricky because it's really easy to like network online. You can message anybody, you can make any post, but you need to be smart about it. You need to know how to use it. And there are like I divided into two ways that we can actually use your social media in a very smart way. The first thing is to create a very strong profile. So strong profile in the sense that you need to provide professional information, as professional as possible, basically. Your name, your expertise, if you have a website, like your portfolio that could be on your social media, if you have a shop online, if you're selling something, if you have like an art gallery online, something of those sorts. If you have like a community that you're representing, you have it there as well. So that should be like your intro to your portfolio, basically. It should just contain basically everything that we should know about you on social media. And then you need to be able to share engaging content. So if you're a designer and you keep sharing and most of your posts are relating to something entirely different, it's not really speaking too well of you. So you just try to keep it as professional as possible. LinkedIn especially is one very tricky one because, truth be told, there's a whole lot of leverage on LinkedIn. Like a whole lot. It's really, I think it's underestimated in my opinion. A lot of people are watching you. I think it's the most effective social media when it comes to getting jobs and being connected with other professionals in the field, because recruiters are going to LinkedIn every day to like find talent. And if they come to, you need to be able to draw their attention to you. There are many other designers on LinkedIn, so you need to be able to stand out on social media. And if they do find you, let it be that there is more for them to see. Not when they're coming to your LinkedIn page, maybe they came in contact with a design post of yours, and then they go to profile and that things like you're selling shoes online, you're selling bags online, or you're selling some other not really related stuff. It's going to be very discouraging, and it doesn't bring you up as a professional, basically. So if you're going to include social links to your website, make them as professional as possible. Like be yourself, focus on your work and your industry discussions. You want to come out as human, but there's no need to be yourself, basically. So the last thing we'll be talking about is looking in the right places. Looking in the right places here refers to where the jobs are actually at. So there are so many job sites on the internet. Like everywhere I go to, there are job sites. They are like jobs that are specific to remote work that I'm referring to. There are so many. There's design body that's created and co-founded by Isaac Somto, is a designer in Nigeria as well. Behance had a job pool Dribble has a job pool. Tambourine, Tabulio, there are like so many other ones. We have remote.co, we have we work remotely, we have remotive, we have no desk, we have remote.ok.io. There are like so many of them. So you just have to like sign up and update your profile, possibly subscribe to the emails, and then you'll be getting like email notifications to job posts. So while you're getting your work, while you're getting your portfolio ready, while you're getting your credentials, for lack of words, your resume and all of them ready, you need to be able to go to where these jobs are at and then find them and just like apply to them basically. Social media is like another very good place to find jobs, LinkedIn especially. I just advise any designer that's looking for a job to keep posting regularly on LinkedIn, keep posting good content regularly on LinkedIn, and in a very short time, you'll be so surprised. The more reach your post gets, the more your chances of being seen. Recruiters are looking for designers every day. Somebody said that the UX design space is saturated. I don't think that's true. There are not even enough designers. There are not enough good designers in this space because there are vacancies opening up every day. Everybody looking for designers. They are like hotcake basically at this point in time. So you need to up your game and make sure that you're where you can be found, because nobody's going to come to your Figma draft to like find what you do. You need to be able to put it out there so that people that are looking for you can actually see it. Yeah, so that's just basically all I have in relation to finding jobs as remote designers. I hope that this has been insightful to you. I'll be taking questions now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alison. So if you have your questions, please drop them in the comment section so that so Alison could answer your questions. Questions. What's going on? I guess your presentation was super clear. So, okay, you have
Uh,
communities. Yes, we do have communities. I find it hard to post on social media. Okay, I think I've seen a question. I find it hard to post on social media, and I find it hard to post on social media, and thinking content is an issue. Any ideas to help? Okay, that's a question.
yes. I do have ideas. So, um, the 30-day UI challenge is the first thing I would have said, but it doesn't solve user experience problems. So you can, however, there are like better alternatives. There are user experience generators that, let me find the link. Basically, what happens is they give you like a brief experience problem, and then you have to solve them. So when you're posting your work that has your solution that has solved that problem, what you can say is, oh, this is an actual problem and this is how I was able to solve it. So let me just get that link for you guys real quick. The question about communities, yes, there are communities. In fact, the most of the sorry um, yeah, it's called sharpen.design. This is like a design challenge generator. There are other ones actually, but this is like my favorite. It like gives you like actual design prompts that you can work with. For the communities, most of the job sites have Slack communities that you can join. Tambourine is one that I'm particular about because they are managed by Nigerians and they have a global reach as well. So tambourine.io is another good one. They're working on a V2 now, so just like watch out for that. Tambourine has a Slack community. There are other Slack communities. If you just check, most of the job sites have Slack communities. So, and they have like different tracks. It's not for developers as well. So that's like another good one. I was supposed to drop a link for.
Okay, we have another question. How do you reconcile your different interests? Is that a design question or
You could unmute your mic and speak so I can understand what you mean.
yeah? Oscar, Nkoli Oscar, you can
Okay.
unmute.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So you talked about having different interests on your social media page. You talked about LinkedIn, where maybe
Mm-hmm.
there's a design content, and then when they get to the page, they see you selling shoes and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for those who have maybe different interests or different things you want to create content on, how do you reconcile all that content so it doesn't look like you're not being professional with your social media page?
Okay, so do they have to be on LinkedIn? That's the first thing I need to know.
No, it
Do
doesn't have to be
you?
on LinkedIn.
Yeah, so if you're using Instagram, you could have multiple pages for them, or you could have like a, I don't know, is it Linktree? You have like Linktree where you like have a different, have different buttons for lack of words for the different interests you have, or preferably just have like different Instagram handles, and then you could link each of them in the bio, like in your main page. You could be like, oh, co-founder of at that, or dealer at that, so that they can know that, oh, this person also does this. However, the main content on your page is basically portrays what you are, so it's not like too many things.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. More questions before we round up. More questions. I think we should ask people questions. So since they don't want to ask questions, what do you think? I think your presentation was fine and very brief. So I I feel everybody understood clearly. Okay, we have a question here. So say I have two skills, maybe front end and UI design. Adding those two on one profile won't look professional. Like,
These are related, so it I actually advise you to do this because most people, when they are hiring front-end developers, will want to know that you do have an idea of user interface design, and if you're hiring designers, they want to know that you know how code works. So these both are related, and it's very advisable that you have them on the same profile. But when you're having two different, okay, for example, I bake and then I'm a designer, I cannot go and start putting my cake pictures on my LinkedIn first because LinkedIn is not my target audience. Also, I'm open, I'm trying to attract recruiters to hire me as a designer. So the baking part doesn't really make sense at that point. But then on my Instagram, I could also put the Instagram handle of my um, cake brand on my personal bio so that I say, oh, I'm a product designer. However, I manage at Cake Bites, something of that sort. Yeah.
thank you. We also have another question. How long will it take to become a professional, starting with full commitment to securing a job?
Okay. You don't have to be a professional to secure a job. That's like fair. And how long is relative? It depends on how. Okay, so we want different strokes for different folks. Um, I advise that you start with an internship role. If you're the type that can learn on the job, you can get an intern role and then start off from there. But you need to be very committed. Design is not even easy. Let me just tell you, design is very hard and it doesn't get easier, which means that the higher you go, the more complicated it gets. So the principles of design, they each have principles, and these principles also have principles. So like it's like a whole course of study. They don't teach us that in school. It's like very large. You know how you study engineering for 5 years and then come to get a job. So be patient if you're like 3 4 months and you're not getting this roles you're applying for yet. So you need to be patient, and then you need to like be on your toes because you would need all the commitment that you can offer. Actually, it's a lot of work. I advise that you design every day because that's how you're going to be able to track your progress and then actually get better. So just get better and keep learning, keep designing, and then just keep shooting your shots before you need one day it just happen.
Okay, we have one more. How do you know? How would you know, or how do you know you are good enough to enter the market force?
Huh, okay. Are you? Oh, that's that. It depends. So there are different entry rules, like I said, and an internship is the best way because they expect that you're coming there to learn. You should come with like an idea of what the UI UX design will entail, but then they expect that you will be learning on the job. So if you want to get into the, in fact, that's the best thing. Learning the job is actually the best thing because you get to work like other senior designers that will not, that was actually the fastest way to learn. Working with senior designers who can hold your hand and then you have that direct contact with them and you can meet with them and send them messages, stuff like that. So you're not, you how do I put this? How do you know you're good in this? Is a very tricky question. You won't know that you're good enough. Just keep learning, take courses. If you can, attend design academies. When you see your work from the first day you designed to maybe your 6th month of this, when you compare the both of them, you can tell that there has been progress. But even the senior designers are still learning. So there's no end to this thing. Every season, new trends come up, new things come up in UI design that people need to learn again. So the basic thing is just to understand the basics and the fundamentals of UI UX design, and then just go from there. I don't know if that answered your question, Ify.
Yeah, you did. Any website to help with designing every day?
Yes, like I mentioned, the 30-day UI challenge is a good one to start with. That's if you're just coming in just so that you get design prompts every day for 30 days to design with. However, if you're looking at more UX related challenges, you could look at sharpen.design. That's like a good one because you would need to like conduct user research for most of them and then probably use them to develop case studies. Yeah, that's what I think. I think motive.co just started a design challenge too.
Motive.co.
Yes, let me quickly check that. This I think probably last month. It's quite recent, but it's a job site for designers as well. Yes, they have a job pool and they have a design challenge, so you could check that out. I'll drop the link in the comment section. Yeah, this is a good one. This is curated by Musky, if you guys know Musky of Eota. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Okay. I think, yeah. Okay. The question is, any designers you feel are worth following? First of all, you follow her now. Um, Alison, you drop your, okay, you send us your social media profile, so we'll just send it as a
Okay.
broadcast to everyone who have attended. We'll also compile
All
other
right.
designers that you suggest, so that will be handled via WhatsApp. So, any other questions? Do we
Okay.
have additional questions? If we have additional questions, we can drop it here before we finalize this webinar. If there are no other questions, WhatsApp group link. Okay, there is no group link, but if you don't have StudiHUB on WhatsApp, I'll just quickly share our number with you. Um, just hold on. So that is our WhatsApp official WhatsApp account. They would send us a message there, and you will be added to the broadcast list, so you get all the details. Okay, I've gotten it. Thank you very much, Alison. So, thank you very much, Alison. Let's quickly move to the second section of today's webinar. Let me share my screen. Last section, final section of today's webinar. So, Alison has done a great job telling us how we can prepare and get remote jobs as a designer. Yes, how we can get remote jobs as a designer. So what other opportunities are available for you here? So one other opportunity here is that you've seen from the webinar now that you can become a product designer, and we are offering a class to help you become a product designer. So it's a 4 week 4 week intensive training, and these are the things you're going to learn during the class. You learn design principles, relationship between UI UX, good and bad UX, understand design thinking, user research, qualitative and quantitative user research, and so many other things that we have included in the curriculum. So if you are interested in getting the curriculum, we'll easily send it to you on WhatsApp. So the class is structured in such a way that you would learn for 4 weeks, weekends only for persons with busy schedules, and the classes are 100% virtual, just like we had this Zoom session here, and you will get the recording of every single class at the end of the class. So you'd also be working on product design industry challenges and a personal capstone project to solve a real world problem. Then the extra benefits you get is that we'll get you a mentor. So, from all the speakers, they've all mentioned the importance of having someone to look up to guide you. So, we'll get you a mentor who would give you tasks and work with you on help you out when you are having challenges in your learning. You'd also get an intensive job training, something like you help you get your LinkedIn brushed up, will help you get your LinkedIn up to the level where recruiters would say, okay, this person is quite interesting and let's have a conversation with them.